Let's dive into the EU-Mercosur trade deal, a complex saga involving beef, cars, high-stakes politics, and a chorus of angry farmers on both sides of the Atlantic. This isn't just another trade agreement, it's a story that's been decades in the making, with roots stretching back to the 1990s. The stakes: nothing less than the future of two continents' economies, their industries, and even their identities. On one side, you have the European Union, 27 countries united by strict regulations, high standards, and a massive, wealthy consumer market. The EU prides itself on its environmental rules, food safety, and a tradition of protecting its farmers, who are often seen as the backbone of rural Europe. On the other, there's Mercosur, an alliance of Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, and now Bolivia. Together they form a South American powerhouse, famous for exporting soybeans, beef, coffee, and other agricultural goods. For many in Mercosur, Europe represents a dream market, wealthy, hungry, and full of opportunity. The EU wants access to cheap, high-quality agricultural products, think juicy steaks, fresh fruit, and coffee beans. But it also wants to sell more of its own goods: cars, machinery, and high-tech products, especially in booming South American cities. Meanwhile, Mercosur is eager to open up Europe for its farmers and exporters, hoping to boost rural incomes and modernize its industries with European investment and technology. For many South American producers, this deal could be a ticket to prosperity. The plan sounds simple: remove tariffs, cut red tape, and let trade flow freely between the two blocs. In theory, this would create one of the world's largest free trade areas, connecting over 700 million people. If it works, everyone wins. Europeans get cheaper steaks and coffee, South American farmers see bigger profits, and European car makers sell more vehicles in places like São Paulo and Buenos Aires. It's a vision of shared prosperity and closer ties between continents, but reality is far messier. This simple plan has turned into a political hornet's nest, sparking fierce opposition from European farmers worried about being undercut, environmentalists alarmed by deforestation, and politicians caught in the crossfire. Governments are divided, and member states are at odds. What could possibly go wrong? As it turns out, quite a lot. From fears of job losses and environmental damage to accusations of unfair competition, the deal has become a lightning rod for controversy. The result? Protests in the streets, heated debates in parliaments, and political standoffs that threaten to derail the entire agreement. The deal has become a symbol of the broader struggle over globalization and national interests. This isn't just about economics. It's about identity, values, and the future of entire industries. Whether it's European cheesemakers or South American cattle ranchers, everyone has something at stake. Maui Day, Monday Day. The EU-Mercosur saga is more than a trade negotiation. It's a clash of continents, interests, and competing visions for the future, one that will shape how Europe and South America relate for generations to come. And as the talks drag on, one thing is clear: this story is far from over. This deal has been in the works since 1999, a time when the world was on the brink of a new millennium, and the idea of a sweeping trade agreement between Europe and South America seemed both ambitious and distant. Back when Y2K was a thing, and everyone was worried computers might crash at midnight, the seeds of this agreement were quietly being planted behind closed doors. The Matrix was new in theaters, and the world was captivated by visions of the future, while negotiators were already imagining a new economic reality. For 25 years, diplomats and trade experts have haggled over every detail: beef quotas, intellectual property, environmental standards, and countless other sticking points. Each round of talks brought new challenges, new faces, and new priorities. Talks have started, stalled, collapsed, and revived, weathering political upheavals, economic crises, and waves of public protest. Environmental concerns and shifting alliances have kept negotiators on their toes. In 2019, after years of painstaking negotiation, a political agreement was finally reached, a supposed landmark moment that many hoped would usher in a new era of cooperation. But turning that agreement into reality proved far more complicated. Signing and implementing it, that's another story entirely, filled with legal hurdles and political drama. Legal reviews dragged on for years, as the world outside changed rapidly. The deal, once seen as a triumph, became more controversial with every passing month. The Amazon burned, new governments took power, and European farmers, worried about competition and environmental impact, grew increasingly anxious, taking to the streets in protest. Now, in December 2025, just as the world was watching for a historic signing, the deal's completion has been delayed again, at the very last minute, leaving everyone in suspense. President Ursula von der Leyen canceled her trip to Brazil as protests erupted and ultimatums were issued, signaling just how high the stakes have become. After a quarter-century of effort, the agreement now faces its biggest roadblock yet, one that could undo decades of progress if not resolved. The future of this colossal trade zone, spanning 780 million people, countless businesses, and 2 continents, hangs in the balance, with economic and political consequences for generations. The question remains, after all these years, will this historic deal ever be signed, or will it become just another missed opportunity in the history books? So, what's inside this deal? Let's break it down, because it's more than just a handshake between continents. This agreement is the result of 2 decades of negotiations, aiming to reshape how Europe and South America do business together. At its core, it's about slashing tariffs, those taxes that make imported goods more expensive. By reducing or eliminating these barriers, the deal hopes to make trade flow more freely and cheaply between the EU and Mercosur countries. Over the next 15 years, a staggering 91% of EU exports to Mercosur would become tariff-free. That means European cars, machinery, chemicals, and countless other products could reach South American markets at lower prices, boosting sales and supporting jobs back home. In return, 92% of Mercosur goods, especially agricultural products like beef, poultry, and sugar, would enter the EU with lower or no tariffs. This opens up huge opportunities for South American farmers and exporters to tap into one of the world's richest consumer markets. For South American farmers, it's a golden ticket to a wealthy market, potentially transforming rural economies and creating new jobs across the region. For European exporters, it's a game changer too. They'll face fewer barriers and more opportunities to sell their goods and services, strengthening economic ties and encouraging investment. The deal also goes beyond tariffs. It cuts red tape at borders, protects iconic food names like prosciutto di Parma from imitation, and even opens up public contracts, so companies from both regions can bid on government projects. But here's the catch. Mercosur producers aren't held to the same strict standards as EU farmers. Environmental rules, animal welfare, and food safety regulations can be much looser in South America. Critics warn this could flood Europe with products made under looser rules, undercutting local industries and putting pressure on European farmers to cut corners just to compete. The fear is real: unfair competition, a race to the bottom on standards, and the risk of losing traditional ways of farming and producing food. That's where the trouble really starts. The deal promises big benefits, but it also raises tough questions about fairness, sustainability, and the future of farming on both sides of the Atlantic. The deal's biggest fans? Europe's industrial giants, especially Germany. For German car makers and machinery firms, South America is a vast, untapped market. Removing tariffs means more exports, more jobs, and a stronger global presence. Spain and the Nordics also see big opportunities, especially for wine, olive oil, and services. Supporters argue the economic benefits far outweigh the risks to a small segment of agriculture. There's also a geopolitical angle. The EU wants to counter China's growing influence in Latin America. By securing this deal, Europe diversifies supply chains and strengthens alliances. For the European Commission, it's a flagship policy, a symbol of EU power and unity. For its champions, this is about more than trade, it's about Europe's place in the world. But opposition is fierce, especially from Europe's farmers. They fear being wiped out by cheap South American imports produced under looser standards. France leads the political resistance, demanding imports meet EU-level environmental and health rules. A coalition of countries, Italy, Austria, Belgium, Ireland, backs France, threatening to block the deal. Environmental and human rights groups warn the deal could accelerate Amazon deforestation and undermine food safety. For critics, the risks to rural communities and the environment are simply too high. The anger isn't just in Parliament, it's on the streets. On December 18th, thousands of farmers drove tractors into Brussels, blockading the city. The protests were loud, chaotic, and impossible to ignore. Tractors, fireworks, burning tires, and raw frustration. Farmers say the deal sacrifices their livelihoods for corporate profits and threatens the future of rural Europe. Police clashed with protesters, but the message was clear. Farmers won't be sidelined. The protests gave political cover to leaders like Macron and Meloni to oppose the deal. Images of the revolt galvanized public sympathy and pressured politicians to act. The result? The deal's signing was delayed, proof that Europe's farmers still wield real power. The battle is far from over. In South America, leaders are frustrated by Europe's delays. Brazil's President Lula sees the deal as key to modernizing Brazil and attracting investment. He's warned that if Europe stalls, Brazil may pivot to China instead. Argentina's new President Milei, despite his libertarian views, also backs the deal as a way to open Argentina's economy. Uruguay and Paraguay echo this optimism, seeing the agreement as a path to prosperity. For Mercosur, the deal is a long-awaited opportunity, now threatened by European politics. The sense of disappointment is palpable. What does this mean for ordinary people? In Europe, consumers might see cheaper steaks and coffee, but farmers could face ruin as they struggle to compete. Factory workers in Germany might benefit from more exports, while rural communities in France and Ireland could suffer. In South America, some farmers could see life-changing gains, but small producers might be squeezed out by big agribusiness. Urban workers could enjoy cheaper imports, but local industries may struggle against European competition. Indigenous communities in the Amazon face new threats as agricultural expansion accelerates. The benefits and costs are unevenly spread. Some win big, others lose everything. The deal's impact is deeply personal, reshaping lives on both continents. The stakes couldn't be higher. The EU-Mercosur deal is more than a trade agreement. It's a test of values, priorities, and global ambition. The EU must pursue global influence or protect its farmers and environment. The deal's fate hangs on a knife edge with a handful of countries able to block it. Leaders may try to add safeguards or compensation, but compromise is elusive. If the deal collapses, the EU's credibility suffers and Mercosur may turn to China. Decades of diplomacy could unravel, leaving resentment and missed opportunities. The world is watching. Can we build a trading system that's fair, sustainable, and widely beneficial? The answer will shape the future of globalization and the lives of millions.